How the heck are you, everybody? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel and welcome back to our series, All Heroes Ranked. This is a series of videos. There are going to be 9 of them. I've already done 3. This is numero cuatro, where we go faction by faction and I break down all the heroes, ranking them from worst to first. It is as simple as that, and today we are tackling an insurmountable challenge. No, I'm just kidding. The smallest faction in the game by a mile. The Supreme Arbiters. We have only 8 units, so we should get through this fairly quickly compared to some of our other marathon videos. And before I get into that, I have to remind you, every single video in this series has a Moonton sponsored giveaway. 3 lucky viewers will win 200 diamonds a piece. You know, it's not much, but over 9 videos, it really adds up. So keep participating. Keep winning, I hope, if you're lucky. More info, like always, will be at the end of the video. We have some Supreme Arbiters to rank, so let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
So guys, here is the sheet. I'm covering all the rankings. Who is going to be number 8? Let's see it. It's going to be the newest Arbiter in the whole game, Init. This may shock some people. Init is the new reward. He is a new completion prize for clearing our newest quest line, the Odyssey quest. That being said, he's not that good. I mean, let's be honest. For anyone who has gotten him yet, anyone who has tested him yet, any of the content creators on test server, I played with him a little, but I have heard a ton through the grapevine. Shout out to Alarl, who gave me some really hot tips on the guy. He's just not working. He's got a supremely complicated kit, I guess fitting of a Supreme Arbiter, but he does this ancient core thing. It basically should be buffing other allies, helping with damage, doing damage, all this crazy stuff. It doesn't really seem to be working, certainly not in any OP way like was intended. That being said, guys, he is not bad. None of the heroes on this list are bad. They are the Supreme Arbiters for a reason. All 8 of these guys are good legendary heroes. That being said, I do think as it stands now, Init is the worst of the bunch. There is no way he can continue on being somewhat subpar, at least with the lofty expectations we had for him. He is the reward from the Odyssey quests, the hardest quest line in the entire game. He should be really good. This is what I think will happen. He's going to get some kind of buff, some kind of rework. The devs are going to find some kind of bug or some kind of issue in his kit that makes him work smoothly, or more content will be added that he's absolutely brilliant for. He's still a hero we should be very excited about. If we go to the tier ratings, this is all speculative when I did this. These will get updated. They will not remain as high. They certainly are too high as it stands now, but it's not like Init's going to dip below an A. He's a solid hero. He should be pretty good. I think he should end up being a very, very nice kind of end game or at least late game PvE carry for a lot of players, but as it stands now, he's kind of wonky. He doesn't work in such a hot way, not the most exciting member of our list, and that is why he comes in at numero ocho, at number 8. Who's going to be number 7? These next 7, we know they all are good. These are Arbiters that have been in the game since the Arbiters arrived. We are actually about to get a brand new Arbiter, and that is worth mentioning, coming out in just 2 days. That's actually why I wanted to make the video today. In just 2 days, Jerra's coming alongside Preatus on an amazing special ancient summoning banner. 15x for Jerra, 15x for Preatus. We obviously already know Preatus is good. I wonder where he's going to be on this list. Spoiler alert, pretty darn high. You will have to wait and see exactly how high, but I think we all have an idea of where he will end up. However, Jerra, I won't break her down in this video because this is just for heroes in the game right now when I'm filming the video. That being said, I think I know where I would put her on the list, so when we reach that number, who she would go in between, I will point that out. But up now at number 7, let's actually talk about her. We've got Eunomia. I think Eunomia is absolutely fine. She's got huge healing multipliers. She does really monstrous heals. She's got nice base stats, 54, almost 5,500 attack, pretty good HP at 11.7. You can build her really, really nicely. She's a cool attack-based healer. She's got that nice 3 tiles by 4 tiles rectangular range. You know, aside from the big Vortex range or Pharisee range, that is the second best healer range in the game. That being said, her kit isn't so amazing. Like, the coolest thing about her and about a lot of Arbiters is she is an Arbiter. So if you're running a Preatus team, I mean, if you're running content in this game, almost certainly you're going to bring a healer, as we'll go over in just 1 second. She is quite a darn good healer. She heals, when it comes to just healing, she heals exceptionally well, but also with Preatus, you need to fill out that Arbiter team. You have to bring a healer anyway. She's going to end up being the best choice because she's absolutely nasty. Well, maybe Ellen will be the best choice because Ellen's the best choice for everything, but for helping Preatus and his DPS and the Arbiter thing happen, she's an excellent choice. The standout thing about Eunomia, in my opinion, is really the strength of her heals. The multipliers are really good. She's kind of like Super Nasandai, the epic piercer, because Eunomia also has heal bounce. Those heal bounces, it's like nearly just a monstrous AoE for everyone in her range if you can get it bouncing enough. She's very, very, very good. A key unique thing here, and also kind of again making her Super Nasandai, is her ultimate, when activated, will increase her attack speed by 100 and grant increased attack speed to all the allies in range. It lasts for 20 seconds. It's really, really nice, and after the second activation, it just becomes permanent. That is very, very good. If we look at some other key things, and I really want to point out one, Holy Illumination, this is going to be her passive, dispels all debuffs from 3 allies in range every 40 seconds, so it's like an auto passive that just like clockwork will happen every 40 seconds. With skill ups, that goes down to 30 seconds. It's just for 3 allies. I don't think she's included in this, or maybe she can be one of those 3. The reason this is important is because cleansing debuffs, dispelling debuffs, is very rare in this game. We've got 1 epic in Midon, we have a terrible rare, Midon's good, but we have a terrible rare in Aaron, we have the absolutely goated goddess of the game, Eluin, and then we have Dasami and Eunomia. That is it. Of that bunch, not counting Aaron, she probably is the worst at cleansing, at debuff dispelling. However, on a 30-second auto trigger, it can be really, really helpful. She can be excellent, excellent, excellent in GBT2, especially since the other things work so well. And if you do have a Preatus team, she is the perfect choice. She's got a very strong kit. She is not an absolute S+ of a healer yet for the content we have in the game, but she heals very, very well. She has other nice utility in her kit. She's very solid. Let's go to those tier ratings. We give her a very solid A+. I think she earned it. You could see as more content comes, if it requires some of these things, maybe she can make her way up to S. I think she's very, very good. However, when she came, I was like, wow, this is going to be the best healer in the game. In my opinion, I mean, I think in everyone's opinion because of Eluin, but just in general, I don't think that ended up being the case at all. She's quite strong in a lot of things. She will shine in a lot of places as a healer. You can see these ratings. You can also find these ratings on my website, the best website in the realm, fastidious.gg. All in all, very good in a lot of content, and then a lot of Preatus-specific content. She's really going to be quite strong. I do want to mention she has dual faction membership in the Watchguard. I should have mentioned earlier, Init has dual faction membership as well. For him, it is with Esotericist. Watchguard for Eunomia could be exciting, right? We know a huge buff is coming to the Watcher heroes. Leia is going to be a much better Lord. You're going to want more comps with 5 Watcher heroes. She could easily be that 5th Watcher hero for you if you're running a Watcher team, if you're lucky enough to have Leia, or when Ingrid Debbie comes out next month, most likely, maybe you'll snag her and Eunomia can fit into that team. All right, who is going to be number 6? We've got Alistair. He was the Christmas shard summoning event, the Christmas fusion that we had. It was 200 fragments, 200 shards at the time. He wasn't so amazing when he came to the game. It was just very solid single target magic DPS. But as we've gotten more later game content, end game content, he's gotten better and better. He is the ultimate sidekick to Preatus. And then for a lot of stuff, because he's got very consistent radiant erosion, let me actually pull him up so you have something to look at. He's got very consistent radiant erosion, which I can show you over here. He can place it very well from his ultimate, Dawnlight. He can inflict 3 stacks of radiant erosion on up to 10 enemies in range. He also increases his attack by 25%. This is going to last for 12 seconds. That attack boost can go up to 35%. The duration of the radiant erosion, and this is pretty key, that can be 15 seconds. It's very good. It works really nicely. Radiant erosion, if you don't know, is true damage over time based on the enemy's defense. So against some of the tankier enemies with crazy defense walls that are hard to overcome, this can absolutely melt them, and it also synergizes really well with the whole Arbiter thing that is going on. Also, with some of the harder bosses we have now, Alistair can be absolutely brilliant. Each one of his attacks on the same target is going to increase his attack speed by 30. This stacks up to 5 times. So that's really cool. If you keep hitting the same target, he gets a 150 attack speed boost. We like that. The stacks can last for 5 seconds. The key thing, though, is if he maintains full stacks, so he stays locked onto one target, so we're thinking boss content, now each basic attack deals 1 extra true damage equal to 80% attack. pretty solid. Not mind-blowing yet though, the damage is a little bit better. The mind-blowing thing at full stacks comes over here from Noble Debilitation. When reaching full talent stacks, each basic attack now inflicts a damage reduction debuff on the target. So if you are keying in on a boss, we're talking Guild Boss 2 here, that's where he absolutely shines. That's going to be the example I use on Guild Boss 2. Basically, it is 100% permanent minus 30% damage dealt by the boss to your heroes. It makes it so much easier to tank him without that damage reduction buff, the decreased damage dealt buff on the boss. It is very hard to tank those hits. I don't think there's a single hero in the game that keeps that up more consistently than Alistair. He's even better than Volca at it. Really, really nice. We do have to talk about one of his awakenings. And this awakening, awakening number 1, so you only need one extra copy, which used to not be possible without soulstones, but now he has entered the ancient summoning pool. When you reach those full talent stacks, his basic attacks now have a 15% chance of inflicting one additional stack of radiant erosion. That is really important. 15% isn't such a high chance, but the way you build Alistair is very, very fast. He also gets a big boost from his talent, right? If you're keying in on a boss, and that's what we're talking about here, if you're keying in on one target, he'll have 150 extra attack speed, so he can absolutely go lightning quick. If we look actually at the base attack interval, he is 2.0 seconds, which is very, very unique for a maid. So this guy can totally be lightning, and getting out that extra radiant erosion is going to synergize very well for the Arbiters and is going to lead to extremely reliable damage over time. It is perfect if you can get yourself an A1 Alistair for the Arbiter of Frost Codex boss. It also synergizes perfectly in those ridiculous Preatus teams, those Arbiter teams for Arbiter of Frost. And also for Guild Boss 2, this can lead to a ton of damage if you have an A1 Alistair. Very, very good with that true damage based off of the enemy's defense. If we go to tier ratings, he's at an A+. Guild Boss 2, I probably would actually move him to an S+ now. We are going to redo all these rankings once I finish this series. He's just pretty solid in a lot of content. The places he's really going to shine, honestly, are going to be places you bring Preatus. He's an amazing Preatus companion. Arbiter, the reason we didn't give him an S+, we gave him an S, is because you really need him A1 to completely and utterly shine there. Otherwise, he's just very, very good. And it's kind of the same thing over here for Arena. Like single target Arena, he's honestly not that good. If you have Preatus, Alistair can be a brilliant addition to your Arbiter squad, kind of the same case in Guild Wars, but he's not always going to be the top choice, and then without Preatus, it's not as special. So he's slightly reliant on Preatus to be at his full potential, but I will say he doesn't even need Preatus for Guild Boss 2. Even without A1, keeping that damage reduction is crazy, and he does it better than anyone else in the game, baby. Also, I must mention, Alistair has dual faction membership in the Watchguard. This is significant, again, because Watchguards, the Watchers, are getting a huge buff. All the Lord skills are getting improved. This in turn will help the members of the Watchguard a lot, so that can make Alistair a lot better and a lot more relevant in content outside of his Arbiter teams. Who's going to be up next? We're basically almost halfway through this faction. That just goes to show you how few there are. Just 5 remaining. These are our top 5. They're all amazing, and we've got Pelagios. So, Pelagios, the AoE magic damage dealer and the marksman, dual faction in the Arbiters, obviously, and the Star Piercers. He's very unique, he's very weird, he's very good. His kit's still kind of buggy to this day, but he's got this monstrous ultimate attack range, that big boy AoE marksman thing, and he deals really, really consistent AoE magic damage. I think a lot of people sleep on him because when you think of AoE magic damage, you think of mages, and even though he's not a mage, he really, really does do it, and he does it in spades. A cool thing he also does is he puts out these tidal vortexes. They're very powerful as a crowd control thing. They can group people together. Also, they do count as a crowd control effect, so it allows him to synergize with those cultist teams, where those kind of faction teams you will be bringing to a lot of AoE magic DPS stuff, so it's a nice natural synergy for him. He also has a ton of true damage built into his kit, which allows him to shine in content even where you don't need magic damage. A good example of this is Furious Torrent. He should absolutely stink there. By the end of that battle, their magic resistance is through the roof, so he shouldn't be able to do anything besides tickle them. That's not how it goes, because he puts out a ton of true damage. His talent leads to some big tides that deal true damage. He also puts out Radiant Erosion, which, as we discussed with Alistair, is a good source of true damage. He's got a lot of cool things in his kit that make him extra special, beyond just the big AoE damage to many enemies' magic damage. The true damage itself really does allow him to shine. He can be a total menace in a lot of PvE content, and he is brilliant in PvP. So what are we looking at here? He's a solid S overall. Guild Boss 2, he can actually be okay, because the true damage can really help take down that hard phase 2. Gear Aid 1, he's insane. He can main DPS it. He is a giant AoE magic damage DPS after all. Magic damage DPS, is that redundant? Who knows? Gear Aid 3, he's solid. He is a piercer, so he benefits from that Piercer Lord buff, not just the attribute increases, but the increased range. I will say he's not the best choice in the world because he does not do piercing damage, but as we just covered, the amount of true damage he does enables him to still be relevant. Gear Aid 4, he's actually quite good. He's not a top choice, but he can do the AoE DPS you need. If they didn't make it, that movement kind of shaking effects weren't nerfed on stage 5 and 6, that you can't do vortexes, that you can't do pushback. If his vortex would count, he would be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Void Rift, he is so good because he fits into what I think are probably the two best factions for Void Rift. Arbiters, if you're lucky enough to have Preatus, and then obviously Piercer. You hear me talk about them all the time. I think they're insane for Void Rift. Faction Trials, he's very good for Piercers, and obviously if Arbiter ever comes, he'll be great there. Finally, before we talk about PvP, we have to talk about Torrent. He shouldn't be as good as he is, as I said before, because he's not dealing piercing damage, and there is RNG in it, but when that true damage starts true damaging, oh my god, it's crazy. He's on all the top teams. You may have to grind it out a bunch to get the right RNG, but when it lines up, holy crap, he's wiping everything out. And then PvP, he's exceptionally good. For both Piercer teams and Arbiter teams, he can be really good in AoE arena and anti-air. You're going to have to run something with like a Siren for deploying quick, but he can be absolutely brilliant. The key thing though, Guild Wars, he's a scary guy. You know, that movement effect, the Vortex is very scary. The true damage is very scary. The straight up magic DPS is very scary. He is absolutely brilliant for Guild Wars. You will see him all the time on some of the top teams in the entire realm, some of the top players in the entire game. Halfway there, guys, who is number 4? This is where the rankings got really tricky for me, especially when I talk about where I would slot Jerra in. Number 4 is going to be Valkyra. It surprised me too. I thought she would be higher on this list, but in the end, I made a different call, as you're going to see very shortly. Valkyra, we already covered her extensively in my Northerners video, so absolutely go check that out if you have not yet. She was very high on that list as well, and there were a lot more than 8 faction members in the North Throne faction. Valkyra is brilliant. North Throne, Supreme Arbiters. She is an AoE melee unit dealing consistent and constant magic DPS. She's got amazing extra things in her kit. She can extend her range when she consumes a shield. This synergizes very well with the North Throne, and also she can deal a lot of extra damage. The ult is super strong. On her basics, just as a natural thing, she puts out consistent and constant magic damage vulnerability. That is increased magic damage received by the enemies. It's 50. That is 15% increased magic damage received by the enemies. Very strong. Helps her deal a lot more damage, as well as all the other damage dealers in range on the field. She's got a cool revive over here with her passive Miracle. That is quite good for Guild Wars, where you will see in a second she absolutely shines. And then this passive, I always bring it up, but Sword of Victory, when you skill this thing up, you get a 5% post-deployment attack boost every 14 seconds throughout the battle. It stacks up to 8 times. That is insanely strong. So in, 112 seconds, so that's 1 minute and 52 seconds, she reaches a max stack of 8, and she has a 40% post-deployment attack boost, and attack is king in this game, and she gains the entire thing 100% passively. By the time you're at the end of a long battle, you know, after a minute 52 or so, she's cooking. She's completely cooking. It's amazing. Let's see those tier ratings. She is a decided S+ for me, one of the very best heroes in the game. She's just brilliant in a lot of stuff. Gear Aid 1, she's excellent. Gear Aid 4, she is nearly unmatched. We do have one hero on this list, though, that is better than her. You're about to hear about in a second. AMR, she's fantastic. Voider, fantastic. The list kind of goes on and on. I will say for Faction Trials, we don't have that yet for Arbiters, but for North Throne, she is nutty. You don't technically need her, but you kind of need her. Oh my god, she makes it so much easier. She's so good. Even at A0, she's totally brilliant. Codex Conqueror, the Conqueror Codex, she is very strong. She's on some of the top teams in the entire world. Guild Wars, as I said, she really is a star. Northerner is a very strong faction. Arbiter is a very strong faction in the GVG world, and she's great on both those teams. And then AoE Arena, she is so good. If you're pairing her on an Arbiter kind of team and you chose to bring Preatus as a Lord, that works. And then if you have Elder, the ancient exclusive Northerner Lord, and you run like a Valkyra and an Ardia or something, that can be wild. There you go. That's Valkyra at number 4. Let's get into the really crazy stuff. the top 3. Who is number 3 gonna be? It's Thallen, dude. This was very hard for me deciding Thallen or Valkyra 3 and 4. They are similar in a lot of ways, so I have to explain to you why I did choose Thallen. Just like Valkyra, Thallen is a great melee source of AoE magic DPS. What really sets him apart? In my opinion, it's a lot more. Maybe a lot's exaggerating, but it's just a ton. He puts out so much DPS. He's so easy to use. I'm gonna go straight to the tier ratings. When I used him in my Thallen guide with the Laurel for Gear Raid 4, showing him on the top, it blew my mind. When you put good gear on him, he absolutely destroys everything. And even mediocre gear for content like Gear Raid 4 that he's built for, he can completely shine. Broken set, stage 6, don't worry nothing about it. He is such a decided S+. In my opinion, Demi is the single best Gear Raid 4 hero in the entire game because she kind of does everything. After that, number 2, including all the lords in the game, number 2 is going to be Thallen. He is nutso. He breaks the top of the map in half. Go watch that video. He is way too OP for it. It is nutty. Let's talk skills. Basically, he has this giant sword, whatever you call it, big old javelin thing. They call it Gungnir. He throws it ahead and he radiates this enormous amount of magic DPS. It is really amazing. He also inflicts a giant amount of magic res reduction, which is a very rare debuff. Combine all of this, it is a wipeout kind of move. It's 900 cost, you can go down to 800. Already that's pretty good, but remember he has dual faction membership in the Esoteria order, so if you're running him with a Lord, you can cut that ult cost down even further. He does very, very solid, very consistent AoEs. You can see they're enhanced even further, potentially the basic attacks from his talent. He just has a really nice kit. I feel like he's slept on and very underrated, so I wanted to make sure I gave him a very high rating. It's likely because he's a very rare hero, right? He's an ancient exclusive hero. By the time many people get him, they already have other good options, so they don't think to use him. And then the big thing, I don't think they think to skill him up. And when you get him at full skill ups, that's kind of where everything changes, right? Like, let's just use Gungnir's Might as an example, this passive. In 10 seconds after, he throws the javelin, throws the big spear thing, after Gungnir returns, in those following 10 seconds, and with skill ups it goes up to 15 seconds, his attack increases by 37%. This can go up to 55%. And all his basic attacks, both the souped up Luminous Strike ones from his talent and the normal ones, are all going to inflict stun, which, as we're learning as this game progresses, is really, really powerful. So a 55% post-deployment attack boost, that is nuts. It's going to last 15 seconds. You can cycle this ult all the time. Keep in mind, whenever the ult ends, that's when he's going to get Gungnir back. That's when he's going to get the spear. It's really wild stuff. He is very, very good. You can see currently he's only rated S. I am planning to bump him up to an S+ because I've been so impressed by his damage lately. Such a huge S+ in Gear Raid 1, both as a DPS, but also a support in the way with the crazy magic res reduction, magic resistance break that he puts out. Gear Raid 4, he's unrivaled. AMR, he's absolutely brilliant. The list kind of goes on and on. Conquer, he's fantastic. I think with more testing, I might even give him an S+ here. I'm not 100% sure. And then the final thing, I think he's got the kind of kit that will progress really, really well as the game grows, continues, as we get more content. So, who is number 2? You are gonna have to wait for a second. That is because I said I would stop to talk about Jerra when we reach the point in the rankings where I think I would put her. This is still very preliminary, but I do believe I'd probably put her between Thallen and our number 2. So all these guys would get bumped up one, and Jerra would come in at number 3. She is absolutely nutty. I'm not going to pull her up right now. I'm just going to wax poetic for about 30 seconds, so buckle up. She has got like the highest base stats in the game. I don't know what just happened. The power just turned off. Alrighty, folks, so the power went out at my house. A brief little hiccup. I went over to a friend's house who lives in a different town. We're cooking. You can see the virtual green screen, not as good. Don't worry, let's talk about Jerra. I promised you I would wax poetic. Poetic we shall wax. So, her stats are crazy. The new hero with the highest base HP in the game, and she's right up there for the highest attack. Freakish stats and a very cool kit. She synergizes very well with both the Arbiters, which obviously she's in, and her dual faction membership in Northerners. She gets big shields, she takes a lot of damage, she wants that, she puts vulnerabilities on herself, she takes that damage, and then periodically she reflects that damage back. It is crazy, she hits so hard, she's an absolute melter of a unit, she's going to be a PvP god. I cannot wait, hopefully, to get her. I'm actually pulling on the Preatus banner, personally, not for Preatus, but for her. Like, she is that nutty. I could see her even rising higher up on this list. However, for now, if she was to make it, she's not even on the list. She's not even on the list yet, but if she was to make it, I think she'd come in right here at number 3, bumping Thallen to 4, Valkyra to 5, so on and so on. So you're wondering who's number 1 and who's number 2. I don't think you're wondering. There's only 8. You probably know all their names, and we know who number 1's going to be. Number 1 is Preatus. That means number 2 is Constance. If you guys have not seen my all heroes re-reviewed and re-ranked when I did my latest update in June for the tier list on Fastidious GG, which, is the best website in the realm, very, very thoroughly. I had many, many guests, and we re-ranked every single relevant hero in the game. A big thing we do on my tier list is we designate a very select few heroes with a triple S rating. 5 non-lords get it, 5 lords get it. The non-lord list, it really came down to the final spot. We knew Dolores was making it, we knew Ardia was making it, we knew Ellen was making it, and of course we knew Silas was making it. That 5th spot, Hotsit obviously snagged it, but we were very much on the fence between Hotsit and actually a couple others, one of which was Constance. Constance is so flipping good as the game grows. As it continues, she only gets better. She is just like a melee Dolores, but also her kit is better. Why is Dolores still triple S then and Constance isn't? Because Dolores is the easiest to use, she is only 5 costs, and she does have a stronger inspiration effect. If you don't know, Constance, just like Dolores, has an incredibly potent inspiration. That is where she shares a portion of her attack with all the allies in the range. She actually has the same range as Dolores. I call it the Dolores-Constance range. For Dolores, that is a platform range. For Constance, it is a melee range, and that actually is significant. So while Dolores remains Inspiration Queen, if you were wondering, Dolores, if we count Dolores' max inspiration in the same gear as Constance as 100%, Constance can do 87%. So the inspiration effect she has when you take into account her higher base stats, but her lower inspiration multiples, is going to be 13% less potent. It's going to be 13% weaker than Dolores's. For a lot of content, that's totally a wash. The reason then that Dolores will often get the edge is because she's a platformer. That can be really nice for getting the right units in your range, and she costs only 5. However, for certain content, like a lot of the endgame content, a lot of the boss content, you have kind of unlimited costs. There's no real deployment issue, so then it does not matter if Dolores is 5 or Constance is 18, because cost is not an issue. Another key thing, we are getting maps now, especially some of these boss maps, where it actually is nicer to use Constance and her melee range. Some of the top codex stages, right? Conqueror, Styx, Constance is the right choice. You can't even place Dolores in Conqueror, and in Styx, much better to take full advantage of Constance's range as a melee unit smack in the middle than have Dolores off to one of the sides or stuck in the back. So Constance actually reigns supreme there. Moreover, in Guild Boss 2, the new hardest content in the game and the content by far with the greatest rewards, the weekly boss rewards are fantastic. Constance is incredible. For certain comps, she's definitely better than Dolores. She fits in really well in the middle. And remember, I said she has a better kit. So what makes her kit better? Her healing, even though she's a tank, her healing is very relevant and very strong. And of course, she is a tank, so she can fulfill that tank role. She's also in 2 very, very good factions. Once again, we are seeing a Supreme Arbiter with dual faction membership in Watchguard. So you can see as the Watchguards are about to get a revamp and get all hot and spicy, Constance will only get better. She is truly, truly a brilliant hero. I absolutely love her. I've got myself an A2 Constance. I'm excited to get an A3 Constance. I love her at A3. When receiving healing, which happens all the time because she's always healing, the hero increases her attack by 10% for 10 seconds. That's only going to make her inspiration stronger, and at that point it actually makes her as strong, if not stronger, than Dolores. She's brilliant. She's brilliant. Let's see those tier ratings. S+ overall, duh. She's an S in Guild Boss. You can make her work, but she won't be as good as Dolores. Guild Boss 2, she's completely goated. Gear Aid 1, very, very good. I pair her with my Ardia all the time. I also use her all the time when you want to use melee units in takeovers, and Dolores can't reach them. Her being a melee unit makes her shine. Gear Aid 3, she's cracked out brilliant. She's only not an S+ because she's not needed, but boy, is she amazing. AMR, she's as good as it gets for a tank. She does everything with the healing, the inspo, the tankage. It is really Constance at her finest. Faction Trials, she is wild for Watcher factions. Conqueror, she's a necessity for the top teams. Styx, the same story. Guild Wars, she is very, very evil. Single target, she's brilliant. You get the sense. She is so, so good. And by the way, she pairs just about as well as anyone in the game with Preatus, who's Preatus? Well, Preatus, let me tell you, number one, obviously on our entire list. I'll tell you right now, to me, he is the single best hero in the entire game. Tomorrow I'll have my Should You Summon for Preatus and Jerra coming out. Short answer for almost every single person, yes. Yes, you should. Preatus is a freak. I'm gonna have a full deep dive ultimate guide. It's something I've only ever done twice before, once for Bereas and once for Hotsit, where I show him in like every piece of content essentially. That will come out next week, and boy, you will be blown away. This guy is so good. Because I have the Should You Summon on him coming out tomorrow in less than 24 hours, I'm not gonna take too much time. So let's go to the key things about Preatus you need to know. He does so much true damage. He has the highest base attack currently of any mage in the game. When Debbie, aka Ingrid, arrives, she will overtake him for that title, but for now he remains absolute number one. And this Lord skill and the true damage that comes from it is absolutely ridiculous. Supreme Divinity 3, he basically stacks Divinity. It's like its own button. He has his own special button. That's how special a hero he is. That appears on the right side of the screen. Over a period of time, he stacks 1, 2, and then 3 Divinity. And those stacks then correspond to being able to click that button and trigger one of the following, respectively: Verdict of Truth 1, Verdict of Truth 2, or Final Verdict. Final Verdict is absolutely ridiculous. You are getting 800% true damage. That's ignoring all defense and all resistances, and that is per Arbiter on his team. So if you run a 5 Arbiter team, you're getting 5 instances, random everywhere though, to be fair, of 800% true damage coming from the mage with the highest base attack in the entire game. You can actually ignore crit on him for all builds, except for proper endgame min-max kind of stuff, because that true damage is not going to crit. Just get that attack to the moon. And though if you run the full Arbiter team, that 4,000% true damage is random, in all the boss content, or when you can control it when there's only 1 or 2 enemies on the screen, it's not that random, is it? He is the best hero and the best DPS in the game for so much content. Let's go to the tier list. The most definitive triple S in the game. He really is the best hero in the game. Guild Boss 1, he's awesome. The only thing is Arbiters are not that meta, so he doesn't get S+. Guild Boss 2, he's by far the best hero in the game, full stop. Just him and even Alistair, or best if you can get him, Alistair, and Constance. Holy crap, holy, that stuff is nuts. Who knows, maybe get a little Eunomia in the mix. You start spicing things up. It is freakish. He is so flippin' good. Gear Aid 2, he can literally one-shot the boss. You can circumvent literally everything that's going around there. It is nuts. I've got 2 videos on it. Go check it out. Gear Aid 3, he's a cheat code. Gear Aid 4, borderline S, I would say. He can do it, just the way he can basically do everything in this entire game, but you don't need him. Kind of the same thing for Gear Aid 5, but he is so good if you do have him and choose to use him, that we did give him those S+. AMR, what a freak. He can just one-shot the boss once again. Void Rift, he probably is the best Void Rift hero in the game. Certainly if you have 1 or 2 other Arbiters. He makes it stupid. He just breaks content open. You know, he really undoes a lot of the hard work the developers do designing these stages, because he beats it all by himself. The guy is a cheat code. Sticks, you're talking 1 boss. Those hits are not random. They're all going to hit the boss. He's the best hero in the game. Arbiter, after maybe only Soul Cadence, he is the best hero in the game. Ridiculous. Guild Wars, he's probably the best hero in the game. Single Target Arena, without question, he is the best hero in the game. AoE Arena, he's actually not the best hero in the game. He's right up there, but I wouldn't say he's number 1. Anti-IR, same story. But you see, have you ever seen that many S+ on one hero page? This guy deserves all of it. He is absolutely brilliant, and that brings us to the end of our list, our 8 Arbiters, plus my little monologue about Jerra. There you go. That is your top 8. That also brings us not just to the end of the list, but to our giveaway. So what is our giveaway question, and how do you participate? Well, first things first, you have to make sure you like this video. You have to make sure you subscribe, you hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. If you want to join the biggest community in Watcher of Realms on Discord, we just passed 4,000 members, link in the description. And then get in the comments, leave your UID. You can copy that from in-game. I need that, otherwise I cannot have Moonton send you the rewards, and answer the following question. Do you think Preatus is too strong? And I actually don't really mean that tongue-in-cheek. I want to know what you guys think. A lot of people think he is. A lot of people think, hey, that's just how the game goes. I'm not going to give my answer, but what I will say is I have never played a game like this where there was a character as strong as Preatus. He is that freakishly strong. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.